as I guessed, practically perfect in every way. If you haven't guessed by the fact that I look very silly right now and I'm wearing a 10-minute costume, I just watched Mary Poppins, and my cooker review for this. Thank you, Alan, for making me watch this, because I haven't watched this since I was about 9, and as soon as it was announced I was genuinely interested to see how I would feel upon watching this, because I watched it a lot as a child and I really haven't watched it at all in so many years that I was really genuinely intrigued to see how my brain would react to watching this film as an adult, because even as a child I noticed things, noticed that there was a subtext that I maybe wasn't clicking into entirely, and definitely the Mr Banks plotline is something that, despite it being very, very effective from the perspective of a child, really having the dual perspective of having watched as a child and now watching as an adult really linked me in to what was going on with that character in a way that I hadn't really appreciated before. There's a lot of things that I can remember feeling really odd about when I watched it as a child. I can remember thinking, that's a bit bizarre, what's happening there? And I realise now, as an adult who have slightly more film knowledge, there is some slightly odd moments with things like the lip sync not quite matching up, where it felt really weird, and just slightly odd green screen type effects occasionally, which I remember thinking was really bizarre as a child and not understanding why it was messing with my brain, and now I do understand. But from a production standpoint, for the most part this film is gorgeous. I really love it. The costumes and the makeup is very, very theatrical. You know, if you're actually in Edwardian times, Mary Poppins would not be wearing this much makeup. She would not be powdering her nose every 10 minutes and be considered a proper lady. But because it's very theatrical, because it is very much feels like it's set on stage, they can get away with very over-the-top outfits, very over-the-top makeup, and it really kind of grounds the world in this mixture of this very theatrical, it almost looks like a stage piece, and this cartoon world, which is very much, you can't really do cartoons without it being on film, so it's a really good merging of the two kind of worlds. All of the backdrops are, for the most part, really, really beautiful landscape paintings. In fact, the first opening credits is just going around this gorgeous landscape painting. And then, just for the most part, because those backgrounds are drawn, it really helps link in the world so that it's a combination of this cartoon world. So when you go into the magic of Mary Poppins, you go into these different places, it doesn't feel too out of the way. The feel of this film is just lovely. There was moments that made me laugh, like supercalifragilisticexpialidocious, even though the sound of it is something quite atrocious. If you say it loud enough, you'll always sound precocious. Supercalifragilisticexpialidocious. As much, like, I was grinning all the way through that sequence. The fox bit, the fox hunting jokes are just bad but good at the same time. The penguins are iconic and adorable. All the farm animals and all of those sort of things that are just so well done. Just bring together the sense of joy, and then you've got, I felt genuinely creeped out, like I was when I was little, by the banker scene where Mr Banks goes into the bank and they break his hat and pull apart his flower, and it's, you know, the lighting in that scene is so dramatic and so theatrical, but it works, and it still made me creeped out. Feed the birds, the social metaphors that came in with that, just gave me shivers and goosebumps, and I got very close to crying, I'm not afraid to admit. And again, I might be blinded by nostalgia, but the feels from this film were extraordinary. Despite the fact that Dick Van Dyke is notorious for having one of the worst accents of movie history, I did really, really like his performance in this. I think he just has a presence on screen and is able to communicate so much that even when he's, you know, staring at the clouds, kind of spewing nonsensical stuff to the people around him, he really is a perfect narrator for this story. He's just, but his foot is in both worlds. His foot is definitely in the Mary Poppins magical realm, but he is human and non-magical and an optimist to just the magic of the film. He's definitely kind of, in a way, definitely the narrator. And I really, really like that. he's just perfect in there. Julie Andrews is so iconic and so just perfect for this role. She's got all of the aspects that's just so iconic. She's the master of the slow clap. And she just does so well in this. I love the dancing, I love the costumes, and the chemistry between Dick Van Dyke and Julie Andrews. I did not notice that as a child, but there is a lot of, you know, chemistry going on there. Those actors just connect so well on screen, and despite the fact that you don't really get any backstory as to how they know each other, why they know each other, you really get a sense of the connection between them. And you kind of want a second film to explain how they met or what happens next, but this is a classic, it's a standalone, it's so perfect in its own right that you don't need a sequel or a prequel. Just leave it up to your imagination, because that's important. There's so many brilliant just subtext that comes in this, the banking, the poverty line, and, you know, really appreciating life. It's just, it all comes together in such a beautiful film, with some of the most iconic songs of all time. And I can't recommend this enough. If you watch this as a child, rewatch it. If you haven't watched this as a child, watch it. It's so good, and I am wearing quite a lot of makeup right now, so I'm going to go turn off the camera and get changed back into normal clothes, because I don't know how people wear makeup like this every day. I feel like I'm on stage right now. It's not good. But thank you for the pick, Alan, and I hope this video is not up too late. See you soon. Bye guys.